Do you feel safe here?
Not at this moment, no.
Tonight on the Northwestern News Report, fighting discrimination in District 65. One local teacher says they've faced transphobia in the workplace for years.
Jack Leto explains what we can expect this week with your Wildcat Sports Update.
Plus, an innovative project takes students on a tour of Native history at Northwestern.
Those stories and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news
right now.
Good evening and welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Megan Leibowitz.
And I'm Rupa Pala. We start tonight with one local teacher who is speaking up in the wake of Evanston-Skokie School District 65's first ever Equity Week. This educator says they fight for equity every day. NNN's Joey Safchuk has more.
For this local teacher, it's far from schoolyard taunts. In fact, they say it's workplace harassment. Special ed teacher Ren Heckathorn has worn the same homemade shirt to school every day since the beginning of this month. It reads, "Still not safe." I sat down with Heckathorn to talk about why school doesn't always feel like a secure space, even for teachers.
I recognized and felt that my voice alone, unfortunately, wasn't loud or strong enough.
For Ren Heckathorn, teaching doesn't stop when they leave the classroom.
Yes, I wish more than anything that I could just come to work and to let all of my focus and energy be on these students. And sadly, right now, I'm having to also fight this other fight.
Since Heckathorn came out as a non-binary transgender person 3 years ago,
there's been direct remarks. I've had people tell me that I'm going to hell. I've had people tell me that that people like me as a trans person shouldn't be around children.
Heckathorn is a special ed teacher at Park School, part of the Evanston-Skokie School District. They say some days the discrimination feels like too much to handle.
You know, I would be lying to say there aren't days when I think, I can't do it anymore. I don't have this fight in me anymore. They win.
But they keep fighting. Heckathorn says they've been urging the district to establish policy protecting faculty and staff from harassment based on gender identity for years.
I kept trying, and just wasn't seeing the district take it seriously and take the initiative I needed to see for me to believe that this was a priority to them.
So last month, they spoke up at a school board meeting.
Hello. My name is Ren, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs.
Heckathorn says public confrontation was a last resort.
I'm not a confrontational person. I'm committed to holding people accountable to what they need to do.
District 65 declined NNN's multiple requests for an on-camera interview and said they do not provide statements on what they call personal matters. But the district did discuss gender equity at a board meeting earlier this month, and yesterday a board vote on a policy adding language that specifically mentions gender identity and protects staff members like Heckathorn from workplace harassment. Such protections already exist for students.
I firmly believe and continue to hold this district accountable to creating a comprehensive policy with a big emphasis on the specific and unique supports that trans employees would need. There have been some people here at Park who have learned how to be a true ally.
One of those allies, a fellow Park teacher, says it was time for the community to rally for Ren.
I want us all as Ren's allies to continue the work.
And even though signs throughout Park School encourage tolerance, Heckathorn says it's a textbook case of actions speaking louder than words. But words matter too.
As many times as we give our names, we just follow it up with our pronouns.
Taking care of their teachers, a test Heckathorn hopes this school district can pass. Joey Safchuk, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Joey. Heckathorn says they asked the school to replace signs on 2 single-stall bathrooms at Park in October of 2016, even offering to pay for them. NNN independently confirmed that Heckathorn sent several emails about this matter over the course of that school year, and the district says the signs were changed in August of 2017.
Northwestern released the 2019 Association of American Universities Campus Climate Survey on Sexual Assault. In the findings, Northwestern learned nearly 3/4 of students believe the school would take a sexual misconduct report seriously. The university will use the survey data and information to strengthen efforts to prevent and address sexual misconduct on campus.
According to the Plainfield Police Department, misdemeanor battery charges are pending against 4 Plainfield Central High School students after an alleged hazing incident took place last week. The school district released a statement condemning the behavior and says they are working with law enforcement to investigate the incident.
A digital tour of Indigenous locations on campus launched last week. NNN Cyrus Singh tells us more.
The process of making the tour actually began with the understanding that Native people feel invisible.
Northwestern is currently home to thousands of students, but a new initiative on campus wants to teach the NU community about the Indigenous people who have lived on this land for thousands of years and continue to influence Northwestern today.
There are tens of thousands of Native people in the Chicago area, and it makes sense to offer an experience where people can learn more about them.
Patty Lowe is the director of the Center for Native American and Indigenous Research and a faculty member at Medill.
My hope is that when people take the tour and learn more about Native people, that will pique their interest so that they want to learn more about other communities as well.
This interactive multimedia tour is her brainchild. She's been crafting it since joining the Northwestern community in 2017.
I think this is just an opportunity to open up the door to diversity and inclusion in general.
Upon receiving a $20,000 grant earlier this year, her dream became a reality.
Learning how to work with the community in order to make a story that is not yours and in a land that belongs to someone else, the Native and Indigenous communities here, I think is an experience that I couldn't have had elsewhere.
Janet Lee and 9 other students created design and multimedia elements for the tour in Lowe's class.
What these students produced is pretty amazing. I think that's what I'm proudest of.
But Patty's work expands far beyond the tour. Just this past week, she and several other faculty members got an Indigenous Studies minor approved at Northwestern.
We're really excited about our minor. We've been talking to faculty on campus for about 2 years now.
Telling untold stories about Indigenous people, one location at a time. Cyrus Singh, Northwestern News Network.
Lowe says she hopes students can continue to update and improve the tour in the future.
Research led by Northwestern and Washington University is taking on the opioid crisis. The research team is developing an implantable device that can detect fatally high levels of opioids in the body and immediately deliver the drug naloxone, which is used to treat overdoses. The team received a grant from an initiative through the National Institute of Health that totals $10 million over 5 years. Engineering development is going to take place right here at Northwestern.
Tomorrow officially launches the expansion of Northwestern's International and Area Studies program. The department is now home to Middle East and North African Studies program. Assistant Director of the program, Danny Postel, says expansion is an exciting step in the right direction.
International and Area Studies at Northwestern has existed for several years, but it's now undergoing a major expansion, partly because the Middle East and North African Studies program has joined the Center for International and Area Studies. So that adds to the portfolio of programs and activities under its roof. But also now it's being called a center. So it's going from this kind of standalone administrative unit to an actual center.
Illinois electricity provider ComEd is now the subject of a federal investigation. WBEZ and the Chicago Tribune report that the investigation is looking into consultants and employees who were hired and who were allegedly connected to prominent Illinois politicians, including Mike Madigan. The investigation also encompasses former ComEd lobbyists Fidel Marquez and John Hooker.
The teachers' strike, which is dominating Chicago news, is in its 6th day, and some high-profile players are taking a stand. Mayor Lori Lightfoot yesterday implored the union to resume classes while negotiations continue. And today, presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren rallied with the Chicago Teachers Union. Negotiations today resumed after a setback earlier this week. The Chicago Teachers Union is demanding smaller class sizes, higher pay, and more nurses and counselors on campus. Tune in to Politicat at 8 p.m. for an in-depth discussion on the CTU strike and labor unions at large.
Coming up next, Weir blew up before the sun rises at the Evanston Farmers Market.
And Halloween is just over a week away. We'll have everything you need to know about what events are in store in Evanston.
Fall is in full swing here in Evanston. Cool, crisp air will greet the Northwestern alumni coming back to town for homecoming festivities. I'll have your full 5-day forecast coming up after the break.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
It's finally fall here in Evanston. The temperature is dropping, and this week it's bringing some rain and wind. You can see behind me, Lake Michigan has been turbulent this week. It looks like beach season is finally over, and the low pressure system is moving through the Great Lakes this week, bringing behind it a cold front and risks for severe thunderstorms. Keep an eye out for flood advisories in the lakeshore regions. Temperatures this week will remain in the 50s, but don't pull out a fuzzy blanket just yet. We have a slight chance of reaching 60 degrees tomorrow. Throughout the day, you can expect some sun turning into clouds later in the afternoon. The low will reach 44 degrees. The end of the week will dry out with a slight chance of rain on Thursday. Temperatures Thursday will reach a high of 52 and a low of 37. Friday will be partially sunny and chilly with a high of 49 and a low of 35. If you're headed out to Ryan Field Saturday to catch the Cats take on the Hawkeyes, you can expect partly sunny skies with a high of 54 and a low of 42. Sunday will be cloudy with a high of 56 and a low of 40. This is a great week to grab a glass of warm apple cider. I'm Alex Moore, and this is your 5-day weather forecast. Back to you guys on the desk.
The Evanston Farmers Market has been a community staple for decades. Vendors start working long before the rooster crows to prepare their stands for Evanstonians. NNN's Andrew Rowan takes a look at the pre-dawn setup.
At the same time Northwestern students might hit the sack Friday night, vendors of the downtown Evanston Farmers Market are packing their sacks and beginning their Saturday.
It's a 2-hour drive, puts us at Starbucks at 5, and then we get a bit of a break before we set up here.
Susan Cleverton says her farm's preparations for the farmers market begins Friday. She loads her truck and then begins the 85-mile drive from her farm in Caledonia, Illinois. The trip starts around 3 a.m.
We set up the tents and all our signage and our tables. So there's a lot of just fiddly stuff to do before we actually start laying out the merchandise.
Cleverdon's not alone. Illuminated by 5 street lights, the first vendor arrives to the lot at 3:30 in the morning. Working by flashlight, vendors unload their trucks, establish their stand's layout, and then begin to arrange their produce.
We try to set up quickly, so once the customers come, we can be as attentive as possible.
The market manager tells me that vendors need to be in their spots by 7 a.m. because people begin arriving early, and they can't be moving giant trucks when there are people already walking around the farmers market.
The people are always great. You do build a sense of community. You see, the same people every weekend, and you start to build friendships, and you start to get to know them well, and it's very nice.
And don't have a cow because you can sleep in and visit the farmers market before 1 p.m. Andrew Rowan, Northwestern News Network.
If you want to check out the farmers market, you'll have 2 more opportunities before it closes for the season on November 2nd.
It's spooky season, and Evanston residents are gearing up for Halloween with eerie events planned throughout the holiday. On Friday, fire trucks and police cars will be taking part in Evanston's very first Trunk or Treat. The festivities will continue Saturday night with the downtown Evanston Trick or Treat Stroll. Starting at 11 a.m. is a costume parade, and later you can pick up a trick or treat map showing the participating businesses that will have special Halloween-themed activities. And don't miss the It's the Great Pumpkin Compost event on November 4th, where you can dispose of your old pumpkins in an earth-friendly way.
After years of dub love, Northwestern is saying goodbye to the new student dance. The dance was introduced in 2013 to unify incoming students. Director of New Student and Family Programs, Patty Hilkert, says Wildcat Welcome scrapped the tradition over accessibility issues and a lack of student engagement. Hilkert says PAs learned their own dance as a group, keeping some of the original spirit alive.
There's a lot of accessibility issues for students. It really kind of stressed out students that had different issues. We just started to feel like it wasn't something that needed to be part of our program anymore.
Megan, do you know what Hipsterbia is?
You know what, Rupa, to be honest, before working on this newscast for this week, I did not know what it is, but now I know that it is a place that is hipster.
Well, we wanted to know what you think about Evanston being a so-called hipsterbia, so we asked you in this week's edition of Rock Talk.
A new study by the Urban Land Institute and PricewaterhouseCoopers has dubbed Evanston a hipsterbia, a suburb that is hipster. We wanted to see what you guys thought, so we asked you.
Rock Talk.
Do you think Evanston is hipsterbia and why?
I do, because there's a lot of kids that are in their age of like 17, 21, which kind of makes that a thing. Plus, all of the coffee shops and like little boutiques and stuff.
I actually think of Ghosten like 5-10 years ago, once they had their own very distinct character that people come to visit for. I don't think Evanston has that.
There's a lot of older white waspy types around here, so I feel like they tend to like bring the hipster vibes down a little bit.
Coming from Brooklyn, we just moved here just over 2 years ago, which is hipster headquarters, and Evanston definitely has a nice balance.
For sure, just because Evanston is always trying to be Chicago.
It's a hipstopia, if you will. There's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of homelessness, but then you also get like Furious Spoon selling $15 bowls of ramen.
I mean, I'm from London, so like, I'm also from Serbia. What's wrong with you, Evanston? Get more diversity, bro. All you hipsters out here, hipstering about. What are you talking about? Am I a hipster?
So hipster.
With my designer stubble. And my glasses, oh my god.
Rock Talk.
If you have an idea for a future Rock Talk topic, tweet us at @NNN_news.
Coming up, how one NU football player is sporting a unique hobby off the field.
And what's
if you
going on
DVR'd
with
last
Wildcat
Friday's football
sport?
game, don't bother watching it. I'm Jack.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
goes far, he will win. We will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
For our segment, Newsmakers, we report on students at NU doing extraordinary things. This week, I went to talk with Cody Gronwald, a Northwestern punter with a unique hobby. When Cody Gronwald isn't in classes, he's on the football field.
I love football. I absolutely love it. I mean, you can't really play at this level and not love the game and love kind of the people you're with.
But it's this NU punter's hobby off the field that has some people doing a double take.
People really don't know how to react because it's not really necessarily a common hobby.
Gronwald is a fruit carver.
The watermelon flowers, crowd favorite, apple swans, kiwi butterflies, strawberry roses, banana dolphins.
It started when he was a senior in high school. A culinary teacher approached him about entering a food competition as a fruit carver.
I figured I'd try it out and see what I could do. I have pretty steady hands, so I figured I could do at least okay.
He did more than okay. He carved a flower into a watermelon and won the state championship in Nebraska.
So you want to kind of push down on the blade and almost bend it upwards.
And now Gronwald carves his own designs too.
Like this flower's a little bit on my own. Just wanted to be individualistic. Didn't want to really kind of copy.
Gronwald has only been a fruit carver for a few years, but he says he's worked with food his entire life.
We grew up on a pig farm, and you really kind of grew up learning how to not only butcher but also cook that meat. Making more petals, just clearing out the excess.
Cody is going to attempt to teach me how to carve something out of an apple. We are going to see how this goes.
This is going to be a swan, an apple swan.
It takes Gronwald about 5 minutes before apple slices become wings. This will eventually become the swan wings.
This will eventually become the swan.
Great. And seeds become eyes.
Simple apple swan.
Simple. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I tried my hand at carving fruit. My wings are kind of falling over, but I think I'll have to stick with eating it. Megan Leibowitz, Northwestern News Network. Gronwald says when making his own watermelon flower designs, he takes inspiration from other flowers he's seen online and modifies them to make his unique. And that's all the time we have for tonight. I'm Megan Leibowitz.
And I'm Rupa Pala. For all of us here at NNN, good night and thanks for watching.